Hello,
Hello. So you're
Tom.
sick? You're sick,
Yes, I have
Andrew?
COVID. This is an experiment to see if, if what kind of hallucinatory thoughts issue from um my zonked brain today.
Yeah, but I mean, we need abstract thinking. So, and
Yes.
hallucinatory thinking, that's great. And you show up to
Yeah.
your case instead of lamenting and drinking coffee in your bed or whatever you do. So,
Yeah, well, Neil Young wrote all his good songs when he had high flus,
yeah.
because, we access the unconscious mind when we are not so present in the conscious mind. I think
Yes.
that's a nice thing. I kind of
Yeah.
enjoy it actually. I mean, it is not so fun on one level, but there's a way in which I enjoy it because I can just shut everything down and let my mind sort of drift and dream and you
Yeah,
know.
the threshold to the subtle realm of existence, with the dreams and the fever dreams and, the hallucinatory images, that's like way lower. And so you drift just off and have like the wildest, visions of everything. No? Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was in surgery, um, I got they gave me ketamine, and ketamine is a drug. Apparently, if you have a very high dose of it, you can be awake during surgery.
Mm,
Like intense surgery, like this was a knee thing, right?
yeah.
And you could be completely awake and just be observing that kind of experience. And they mixed sort of ketamine with some sort of opium or morphine or whatever the hell it was. And I was seeing cartoons for hours, just cartoons.
Yeah.
Everything was fractal cartoons. Everything was like, I was seeing all kinds of
What
strange
kind of
beings and
masochistic sick bastard you have to
entities and
be?
maybe aliens and things like that. There were just all kinds of, I was in this different world of cartoon creatures,
Yeah.
and I don't even watch cartoons. I don't like cartoons. It was just all cartoons.
I mean, like imagine to watch from a different plane your own operation, the
Yeah.
open thorax. Like what kind of masochistic sick bastard you have to be to get off on? Yeah, no, 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 they're taking my heart out now. That's great,
Yeah, you're
you
just
know?
watching it. You're just watching it indifferently on ketamine. It's just
Yeah.
it makes you completely detached from your experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the most tripping I've done in since 1999 probably.
What happened 1999?
Well,
Prince
I did
happened.
mushrooms in the forest and almost got lost
Oh,
in the forest in Canada. And it's kind of scary to get lost in the forest in Canada because you can go like a couple meters and lose the road, and then where the fuck are you? I was in Cape Breton, in the middle of nowhere, and there's wild animals out there, and I ended up crawling on my hands and knees, and then I saw some headlights, and then a road, and then I was like, I thought I was gonna die, and and then I had it was like I don't know, I had this weird body high for days, and I was I was there in the Canadian wilderness, kind of like I remember having the feeling that I was accessing all the different sub personalities. Like I was a clown at one moment, and I was a demon at the other, and I was, all the different sub personalities were jumping out of me, and so I was dancing on the edge of the cliff, and then next to the Atlantic Ocean in Canada, like some kind of crazed clown, and that is the last time I've done psychedelics.
wow. I remember before I came here 15 years ago to Mallorca, I was with my then girlfriend. I came here, visited, and we took like lots of LSD and went into the mountains. And
Hmm.
that was crazy because, my brain was reduced to this reptilian kind of way of perceiving. And I was seeing
Yes.
lines, like literal lines up the mountain. And I was like in this crouching position, just walking up the,
Kind of like what I was doing. Yeah, yeah.
crawling up the mountains. And I was like listening. Suddenly I was like hearing voices, and I was turning around, and there were like people on ropes in the middle of the fucking in the mountain, in the wall basically. And I was just like free climbing, completely safe and secure, because I had like this reptilian kind of feeling.
Mm,
But they
mm.
looked at me as if I'm like a crazy person.
Mm.
And because like this perfect equilibrium, I could stand on ledges, and look down 50 meter. This was amazing, like the kind of animal security that you can have sometimes.
Well, also animal fear. I mean, that's what overtook me in this particular trip I was talking about. I remember I was going like this, like an animal. I was like an orangutan in front of a fire because the fire was so compelling and terrifying, and it was just there was no mind. Like the mind was not there. I was in a pure animal state.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
I was like, like a, like a some kind of monkey or something. I did that for hours in front of a fire, and it was, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's so much
this was
going
after
on.
1 year of living in a Buddhist monastery. So I was already I'd spend hours and I'd spend a whole year meditating basically, and I just left the monastery, and
Yeah.
I knew this
Then the
person,
monkey
and
came out.
she gave me some
The
mushrooms,
orangutan came out then,
and
which is,
then
which is a kind of a parable, no? So you
yeah.
went 1 year in a monastery, you come out and mutate to an orangutan. That's kind
Something
of
like that, yeah.
that's kind of
But
funny.
my mind was very liminal already because I'd spent so many hours meditating, and um yeah, I had completely cleaned my system. It was like a pure vegan diet with no, not even
Right.
any, not even any, not even any garlic or onions. This is a traditional Buddhist thing, and just like vows of celibacy, the whole, all the Vinaya and the Buddhism, all I was completely following the. I mean, I wasn't a fully ordained monk, but I was following all the rules of them for a year. It was just sort of a training period.
Right.
Then right when I got out of that, it was like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, hardcore, for the next couple of years, and then that had
That
its
sounds about
problems.
right.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a perfect lead into the thing I wanted to do today with you, because
okay.
we had such an interesting conversation last time about Lebenskunst as vivendi, art of living, you could say in English, although again it doesn't
Well,
translate
there
very
is a
well.
reason why that video didn't go viral, Tom. That the name, people don't know German names. Anyway,
Yeah, anyhow, so and then I was thinking, there are so many things that we didn't address, and I thought, so
mm,
maybe we can do like topic videos, so we have like topics, and we do like 2, 3 episodes if we have some interesting things coming up. And so I was
sure.
thinking, okay, so let's do Lebenskunst as vivendi part deux in your language.
Part two.
And because it's like what you said. You say you went to the monastery,
Mm-hmm.
you cleanse your system of all garlic and onions, and eat vegetarian, and then you did completely the opposite
Yeah,
out
I
of what
mean, there was no
reason?
internet, there was no
Yes,
television, there was no media, I was just on the edge. I was in the wilderness with a bunch of monks for a whole year.
right.
Um, no
and so
news,
and
nothing.
so I was thinking, because like in all of these debates we have about philosophy, it's like, okay, so when do you decide what? Because I
Mhm.
mean, everybody begins in a different phase of their life, and everybody has to make certain decisions. So I'll give you an
Mhm.
example. So you have, I mean, it's like, so you have this fail-safe system of, let's say, monogamy in a relationship
Yeah,
situation, right? And
yeah.
so it's like, okay, that's a go-to place. Everybody can try it. But okay, so but if you like increase your awareness about where you are and what your soul wants or what yourself wants, and what the society is kind of offering, it's like, okay, so sometimes for some people that might be the right thing to be like in a 50-year monogamous relationship. For other people, it may be fine, to be in a serial monogamy relationships
Hmm. Hmm.
sequence. For other people, polyamory and all of this. And so Lebenskunst is, as a branch of philosophy, like try to find a normative way to navigate this space, because it's like, yeah, you can have this Protestant kind of ethic. It's like, okay, no, we serial monogamy, like monogamy, that's the integral or meta modern way of dealing with this. Or you can address, the different felt realities and lived experiences of these people, and try to
Hmm.
find
Hmm.
ways to address that, because that's not normally part of the normative discourse about philosophy. You get what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like for some people, it's important to go to the monastery and then to do exactly the opposite because
yeah,
there's some calling within you, right?
yeah. Well, I think that William Blake says the what was his famous quote about the excess leads to wisdom, or the palace of excess leads to, or the road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom, or something. So for me,
Yeah,
like in my 20s and 30s, I think excess was kind of important because you're navigating experience, right? So
right.
you need to have as many experiences as possible. So in a way, I kind of object to Jordan Peterson's kind of insistence on monogamy. Maybe he's right that most of us are pair bonding, creatures in a way, and we end up kind of pair bonding with each other naturally, and that's fine. And for most people, probably monogamy is a good way to go. But I don't like any moral um, prescription on those things, because there's always the exception. There's always people who have a different style, and there's also the evolution of culture. So people we're not living in the Middle Ages, and we don't marriage is completely different perhaps than it was before, and everything is very, very different now. So
Yeah,
um
and I would say in most cases there are exceptions. If
yeah,
because like if people really listen to to themselves, to the world, and what they need in a specific situation, and what they can learn in another situation. I mean, I told you I was like in this long relationship, and I think I've learned so much about monogamy, commitment, and all of this. And after 13 years, it broke up, and then I had a string of, shorter relationships, but they weren't, lesser in value because they were shorter. And in fact, it
mhm,
was like I learned completely new things about women, about myself, about engaging with the world, about, you were talking about this hallucinatory liminal, you know, s- things, when the threshold is down, and you open yourself up to new experience and visions. And so there is no uh way that there is one, let's say, meta modern sexuality or relationship. It's like, no, we have to integrate, in an active Lebenskunst as vivendi, in order to figure that out. How do we align ourselves with our soul and self, and the world and the community we are in a kind of way?
yeah,
And that's an art form.
yeah. And I think in the past there used to be monastic communities, right? So everything was much more clear. People had much more clear roles, right? And then not today, there's a lot of people who have a monastic personality, right? They should be a monk really, or something like that. But so they end up sort of, living in a different kind of way than other people. It's maybe harder for them because they don't have the support that a monastic community would provide, or not just monastic communities, like in the East, yogic communities. My own spiritual school that I work with is called Agar, and they're kind of like all the people. There's no monasticism in that particular tradition. It's people who live in the world, and some people who are wild yogis who go out in the forest, and other people who are artists and businessmen, and and if you look at the tantric Mahasiddhis from Bengal, I was just listening to somebody speak about that, and they were all kinds of. There were thieves and businessmen and whores and celibate people and wildly sexual people, and there was every kind of potential possibility of human. And I think human beings, if there's the most variety of archetypes, then the society is the most rich and creative. So
Right.
you
And
know,
I think, like, sorry to come back to this, but especially in the meta modern discourse, so you have like these ideas, that there is no meta modern right. It can't be, because of the very design of metamodernism. So metamodernism by design has to be kind of leftist. And I think by myself, well, really, don't you need, don't you want like a spectrum, like a political spectrum, where you can engage with different ideas and different interpretations? It's like that makes the spice
yeah,
of life, the discourse. It's like to bring this together. And the same thing, where when you see notions of, like monogamous meta modern kind of ideas, it's like, Really? So
Yeah.
you want to go back to Protestantism, basically?
Yeah, I mean
Uh,
it is kind of Protestantism and all of that. And I think it's just education. And people believe often that they're doing something novel and interesting, but they're actually just they're repeating, you know, they're just copying. Most of us are copying, all the time. We're mimetic
sure.
like creatures, right? So we're copying things, and so people might think they're very radical. And metamodernism, I don't even know what that means yet. Somebody has to explain that to me. You keep trying.
We always have that.
Oscillating, okay, well, is that
Yeah.
all? But okay, so what? But anyway, um,
It's a little
but
bit more than
they think they're
oscillating.
cutting edge. They think they're cutting edge, but they're radically Protestant. It's just a radical Protestantism. It's like they're just settlers, who are moving to America and starting Puritan communities, and trying to do that without the rules and failing horrendously, and getting into conflict and scapegoating, and just things just kind of repeat themselves over time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just reading something from Gurdjieff, and he's always saying you have to destroy your education, like, because I think people have this powerful education, and it's very hard for people to um, think in a unique, dynamic kind of way, which I
Yeah.
guess is the goal of my metamodernism, to learn how to think in a sort of in a flexible, fluid, dynamic sort of way about the world, but they're not doing it.
No. No, but I think just in realms of politics, sexuality, romantic, romance,
Mhm.
I think then again that's where Lebenskunst comes in, basically philosophy, all of these kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, another aspect I was thinking about, so like how, and it was actually Jeremy Johnson who wrote a book about Gebser, who, you know, alluded to these kinds of way how we conceptualize space and our situation within, right? So
Mhm.
it's like even in modernistic times, we're kind of seeing the world as being in a cave, as being an atomized individual walking within the cave. And the cave might be our atmosphere or our cosmos, but we're like in the cosmos. And to have like the notion, I'm walking, in the world. I'm walking in Palma. It's
I'm
like
in
I'm
something. Yeah.
I'm in something. Yeah. And so you
Uh-huh.
conceptualize the world as being as a remnant of this cave thinking. I'm encaved.
There's
I'm
an inside and
encaved.
an outside. There's in the cave and out of the cave. It's sort of
Yeah,
like the
well, you're
Matrix.
outside the
There's
cave, then you would be dead, in that kind of
Yeah, yeah,
notion.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, it's
but
kind
you
of a
have the
dual.
you have the
It's
start.
basically the dualistic Gnostic notion, right? That there's something outside the cave. There's some greater existence outside the cave, and that's the trap of dualism, in two worlds mythology, right? There's another world outside the cave. But
Right, but that's
when
not.
you get into deeper mysticism, you have the non-dual views, which is sort of destroys that
Sure, but that's what
dichotomy.
was not quite what I was meaning.
Hmm.
So, like even in our modernist, worldview, that you have the planet and circles around the sun, and then you have the galaxy, which is part of a cluster of galaxies, and then within that, you're like on the planet in Europe somewhere near Paris or Palma, whatever. You walk in the earth, so you conceptualize you being in the world, and the world is
Uh-huh.
it appears to be like a cave, right? And so you're not in an active relationship with the world. You're not looking eye to eye with the world. You're not, if you conceptualize all of the world as a female, you as an observer,
You're still in the
you would
womb.
exactly, but as a counterpoint to this, you can conceptualize you as an observer being in a relationship with the world per se. And then it gets, then you're looking eye to eye with the world. And then you can start to dance. And then you can start to interact with the world. And it's not that you're not in a cave anymore. You're not in Kansas anymore, let's say, right? So
Uh-huh.
you're dancing with the world as if she would be your relationship partner. And
Yeah.
that's a very different approach to everything, to the meta crisis. It's like if you engage with a woman seldom has one problem, right? women, if you're in a relationship with a woman, there are always like a multitudes of problems, and she's brewing her
Are you
kind
gonna
of
go in
stuff.
your misogynist rant again, there, Tom? Be
No, no, it's
careful.
not. No, I'm not at all, because I think like women have, I would say that's an ability, to
A
holistically,
fantastic ability, yes, to
yeah.
navigate different realms of feeling
So,
and
and you
expression.
never talk about a woman in meta crisis. You may say she's menopausal, but you never say you never say she is in a meta crisis.
I
And
think she's always in a meta crisis, but anyway, never mind. Yeah, we don't want to go there. And
no, but the point I'm trying to make, I'm sorry to, but I'm trying to bring this home. So the point I'm trying to make is to relate to the world if she would be your woman,
yeah,
right?
the world is your woman.
And
Yeah,
so
sure.
and then life becomes an art,
Yeah,
and
well, I
that's
mean
what
that
I
goes
think.
along with the mystical view, right? That all appearance and everything is form. Everything that's form is feminine, and there's form and emptiness is, or there's light and there's the penetrating light and the empty space, and there's a dance between the two,
Yeah.
which creates the child of appearance, something like that. In the kind
Yeah.
of metaphysics that we play around with in Dzogchen, right? So there's always this emptying out happening, and then a filling up, and then an emptying out, and then a dance, and then a, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not a like you're sort of condemned to some sort of sinful lower state, and and that you have to really work very hard to climb out of the cave. Um, in a way, there's something true about that as well, because we do have to struggle with ourselves. I think, like as Gurdjieff would say. Um,
Yeah, but we're not atomized. That's again, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we're atomized individuals within a
no.
cave. That's not. So there's a dynamic relationship between, uh, you know, the observer, the process of observing, and that which is observed. It's like a
Yeah.
it's like a game or a dance or whatever. And then those things doesn't seem to be so dire,
Hmm.
because especially because you can engage with them.
Yeah.
You're not disconnected from the evils of the world, or the good stuff of the world. It's all happening all the time, right here. And so that makes it beautiful. And that if you can engage in Lebenskunst when you have just the different cosmology, and not this mechanistic kind of, I'm just a tiny wheel in a big machinery of things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was listening to, Gurdjieff used to tell us students, when Ouspensky was around, that you're all machines, you're all mechanical.
Gurdjieff
You know,
was saying this.
Gurdjieff was saying this, but it was a teaching technique. He wasn't really saying that you're a machine. It's that he was more like saying you're caught in your mechanism. You're caught in
Right.
repetitive patterns. He has a whole mythology about how we're kind of, we're cursed with this kind of mechanicalness, and that we have to work to break through it. But then later commentaries, he would say, he would, that would say that it's not really that we're mechanical. It's that we think we're mechanical, or something like that.
Mm.
So mechanical man or machine man, or whatever, that's the Kansas you were talking about, the gray, the world that it has no dance to it, where you're just, we're like that most of the day. We have to admit, like we don't, we have moments of clarity, but most of us are kind of caught up in the gray, so to speak. I would say most of the day, wouldn't you? And then we have moments where we're in this, we're dancing with the world, and then we go back to our habitual entrapments.
Yes and no. I think, in Barth's words, so there are processes and events, and the process is the
Hmm.
eternal recurrence of the same, the things that we're always doing the same without really thinking about this, the
Hmm.
monotonous kind of stuff that we do, the automatic iterations of everyday life. And then you have the events,
Well,
the
there's.
things to
Mhm.
step out of the circular nature of our life and do something new, exert will to create new life circumstances, whatever. And I think
Sure.
the dance, the art is, to juggle both yin
Oh
and
yeah.
yang, and to be able to know when to repeat your behavior and when to strive, to exit it and to do something new, exert some will and create an event for your life or your community with which you dance.
Yeah.
That's what I,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And well, I mean, there's two kinds of, again, back to Gurdjieff because I'm so immersed in him. He calls the excellent automatism is the things that just work by themselves. They work fine. Like your stomach works great. You don't need to
Right.
fuck around with your stomach. You might need to change what we put in it. And but we have all of these automatisms which are fine. But then we also have the Kunda buffer, which is our
I
cursed.
know this word. What was that? Kunda.
It's
What
it's
was
the
that?
it's the cursed automatism. Like I'm not, I might be getting this wrong, but in the mythology of Gurdjieff, that at one time in history, that the human beings kind of developed this kind of insanity. They developed this thing called the organ kundabuffer, which blocked them from having direct communion with reality.
Right.
Yeah, the kundabuffer. It's a good word. There's a lot of good words in Gurdjieff. But anyway,
Is that a mixture out of Kundalini and Buffer?
it's a play on Kundalini, but
Yeah.
it's sort of a negative Kundalini, you could say.
Right.
It's not a positive, like
Like a
it's
buffer, like a stoppage or what?
yes, Kunda buffer. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, well, we're going to engage in a deep study of Gurdjieff at Parallax. So please come along. We're doing a 3-month thing with Luke, where we will be going into all these things. Especially Luke, who has been in the Gurdjieff work for 30 years. But a lot of the exercises and things he gave people to do were just to reorient, the psyche in a way that would break us out of the automatisms, the Kundabuffer automatisms,
Right.
not the natural, perfectly functional automatisms. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Zorba the Greek, we talked about him. He was in perfect Kundalini connection with the world. That was.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, there's I was
I
thinking
wonder
about
if
I
people
was
if
thinking about Zorba the Buddha, and I wanted to put it at like I wanted to make it like Charles Bukowski and Jesus. I want to put those two together. What if you had Charles Bukowski and Jesus as one guy? What would that look like?
wow. I mean, like a drunken carpenter. I don't know.
Anyway, it was just something I
Like
was
who makes like weird art or
something I was
something.
playing around with, like because Jesus tends to be this incredibly otherworldly being, pure otherworldly being,
Yeah.
and I think Bukowski is this intensely earthbound, you know, soul. So that, but I guess it's more fun. Zorba the Buddha. It's probably more fun of an image.
You know the story of the fig tree of Jesus?
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, I must confess that is a joke from Louis C.K. But
Oh,
apparently he reads it from the Bible in one of his stand-ups, and so like Jesus walks with his 12 disciples, whatever, and he's very hungry, and he comes around on a fig tree, and this fig tree has no figs yet. And so, long story short, Jesus curses the fig tree, for not having figs. So nobody will ever have figs of this tree. And so the story is like Jesus being like a resentful bitch, you know. It's like, no,
yeah.
that's not a supreme being. That's just like a guy who is hangry, you
Yeah.
know.
He's cursing the fig tree, right? Yeah. Well, there's some stories about Jesus that emerged with the Gnostic Gospels. The what's it called? The Nag Hammadi library of all these new sort of Gospels, which are considered heretical and stuff like that. And there's stories about the early life of Jesus where when he was a kid, apparently he killed somebody, and he I don't know, he did all these like, bad things,
No.
and that we would not associate with Jesus. But it's interesting. I think that over time, history tends to whitewash these people. Like the saints get whitewashed over time.
I think the more interesting combination would be Jesus and Slavoj Žižek. So
Oh
that would
God.
be an yeah, oh God, that would be so funny. That would be like tension, a creative tension in the soul. Would that create? No,
Slow.
I think so.
Jesus with major facial tics. And who makes long, obscure sentences about nothing at all,
That would be
endlessly
so funny.
preaching to everybody about you know, coffee with cream.
About some movies, man. Yeah.
Yeah, mixing Hegelian philosophy with stupid Hollywood movies.
Mm.
Oh, I'm being mean to Slavoj Žižek. Sorry, everybody. I just want
Yeah,
to.
no, no. We still
God
want
of
him on the
Slavoj
show.
Žižek.
So at some point we have to kowtow to him so he comes to our show.
Right, right, right. Yeah, but I like attacking sacred cows, but it sometimes gets me in trouble because I know many friends who are so fond of the old bugger.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, I think, going back to this kind of notion of Lebenskunst, um I think what you said, in the last episode, that we have to find ways to access different parts of our personality and allow them to express themselves so we can integrate
Mhm.
them. It's
Yep.
like if we try to be just one thing, this thing that our super ego kind of imposes onto us, then we will never be able to,
Yep.
produce any form of ars vivendi, of Lebenskunst. Mm.
Well, again, that's Gurdjieff 101. Man is legion, Gurdjieff said, So, and he's always telling people, you're many people, you're not just one person. So you have to, you're the three brain people or the five brain person, or, each of them has a sort of, has its qualities and needs and neuroses, and right.
And you know what?
What's
And the
interesting
interest,
about his teaching is that they have to all be working in relationship with each other. So if you're just using your brain, for example, you're out of relationship with the rest of your body. I think that's a problem, And if you're just in the heart, then you're just an emotional person, and you're kind of you're not able to, you're not able to rationally, filter it, or analyze information. And if you're just in the body, you're just a, sort of in a very in the reptile state. So all of these, but it's not that all of these need to work in relationship with each other. And the
sure.
whole point is to have a full on experience of reality, from all three brains, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, also what you said about rationality, it's like, and also Wilhelm Schmidt, the guy who wrote this famous book about philosophy of Lebenskunst in Germany. So it's like there's so many aspects that we don't know from our behavior. I mean, we think we know the reasons why we do stuff, but the majority of reasons we don't know, because like over 95% of all cognitive processes and reasons are in, subconscious and preconscious and whatever. And so it's like we don't know in most cases why we do things. And so we always have to integrate that which is opaque to us. And that is an integral part in being able to, bring it harmoniously kind of together, because it's like, okay, it's like you're engaging with that. You don't really know why you do it, but you have like this kind of weird pulling, towards this thing, and the kind of urge to do that. And then you do it and you kind of still don't know why you do it. And so you
Yeah.
engage with that thing, whatever it might be, like in a hobby or woman or whatever. And through the interaction, you gradually find out why you did it in the first place.
Yeah, and
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 so,
you can transform that. Like Gurdjieff's idea is
yeah,
that when these kind of things, the passions or whatever, get crystallized in you, it's not that it's not that you push them away, and sometimes you have to kill them. They're just destructive. But most of the time, he says, when they crystallize, they have to be used. They have to be transformed. You can't get rid of them. Like you
yeah,
can't get rid of who you are. Like Slavoj Žižek can't get rid of his facial tics. People can't get
no,
rid of their bizarre. Maybe he could if he did a lot of, I don't know, really intense yoga or something. But I don't think I think that people have to live it to a certain extent with who they are. So So how do you, for example, how do you transform, the sort of neurotic hysteria of Slavoj Žižek into great philosophy? That's kind of, I think that's what
Now you
I think
can't get rid of anything from the id or from the subconscious. That's the
you,
very point, you
yeah,
know?
from the id, but just what the point of Gurdjieff is when we have something crystallizes in us,
Yeah.
like for like it's not the stuff, the basic drives he's not talking about the basic drives of the unconscious. He's talking about the things like the tics that we have, the weird, the behaviors we have, like like I drink too
I
much
don't have
coffee.
tics. What are you talking about?
Well, just like the way your mouth went
I
up
have
like
no
this and your
tics
eyes went like this
whatsoever.
and what? Just your
I
mouth went in this
I
weird
have
way
no
and
tics whatsoever.
well,
No tics at all.
and you keep going like this with your hair, trying to look sexy for everybody, trying to
Yeah.
turn on all our listeners. So anyway, so I can look at you and I can see that you have certain behaviors
No,
which
I
are
have no behaviors at all.
crystallized. They're crystallized in you, and you don't get rid of them. You turn them to your advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, like a drop of water, from the clouds or something. When it crystallizes, it gets it gets a form within your consciousness, and then you
yes,
have to deal
exactly.
with this. And
That's right.
sometimes you don't know why it crystallizes or condensed.
Hmm.
You have to contend with the fact. It's like, okay, there is something. It drives me towards it. I don't know why. I
Yeah,
have to do this now. And so a huge part of living is to deal with that
yeah,
opaqueness of our own being.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
That's one
it's
thing,
like,
and then the other thing, opaqueness is like in the Buddhist, you have the hot hells and the cold hells. The opaqueness is like the cold hells, the crystallized thing formations in you that are kind of like you're kind of stuck there, and the hot hells are like the dog. Gurdjieff calls it the dogs. You have to fight with the dogs of your nature, right? He says
yeah,
we have all these like wild dogs in us, right? So we have to rein under control the dogs. He's always talking about, um, and sometimes destroy the, just he talks about destroying them, which is
yeah,
a bit more tantric, let's say,
yeah,
because there's an aspect that some things need to be cultivated. Uh, the tantric formula is magnetizing, enriching, pacifying, and destroying, right? So sometimes we find the neurosis and we use it, we play with it, and then you know we crystallize, and then we stick a. I don't know. People are probably think I'm kind of crazy right now, but you stick your
no, no,
you
we
stick
know
your
you're
knife.
sick, you have COVID, you're
Yeah,
in
that's
an
my
illness
excuse. You
state,
stick
and
your
so,
curb out right in you, and you go pat. Anyway.
yeah. No, and again, it's like the world is not a rational thing. Your body knows things, your emotion knows things, yourself knows things, your ego knows things, and they don't know things. And sometimes it's like, okay, I can't express it rationally, but it's like your body might express what you're doing.
We
You
don't
get
know
what I'm
very
saying?
much. We don't. We don't.
No.
We don't know men.
No, we don't know nothing. We don't know
No.
what consciousness is or emotion or love or thoughts. What is awareness? Nobody knows this. We have like words, but it's like, what is an emotion, Andrew? Like nobody knows what an emotion is.
And why do we have them? And what are they doing? And what's their function?
Is it a bubble in your belly, or what is an emotion
Yeah,
or a
yeah.
feeling?
Or a
What
feeling.
is
What's
that?
the difference between a feeling and an emotion? And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I could make define what an emotion is and what a feeling is, but it's just it doesn't
Mhm.
clarify it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, in the Indian tradition, you have all these dances called rasas, and they're all the primary sort of feeling states. The fierce one, the gentle one, and there's actually like there are sort of um, almost platonic feeling states.
yeah,
I think, uh, which you can
like
identify.
planes or what?
Yeah, like anger, you know,
Yeah,
or
I
like
mean,
like
I don't
like
mean
like
planes in
like like
automobiles. I
like
mean planes and
like
levels of.
sweetness, or gentleness,
Yeah,
or like bewilderment, or all of these things.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I'm sniffing like Slavoj Žižek.
It's great. It's great.
He doesn't. He doesn't. He claims that he doesn't use cocaine,
You
but
have to also do that with the spit, that runs down your kind of
and
thing.
then I have to
Yeah.
like scratch my ear, and then I have to say, it's, what else does
And
he
so
do?
on and so forth. Yes.
He says, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Yes.
There we go. So,
Mm.
but I mean, the thing is that, even if you're able to have a beautiful life, it only matters to you, It's gone the moment you're dead. And so it's a weird little thing, this
How did you
this
jump to
thought
that?
exercise. Huh? No, I mean
What
it's
made
like
you make that move
from life to death, I think that's obvious. No?
in the flow of our
I mean, it's
conversation?
like you're quasi or Buddhist. You're like, you do this big mandalas with sand, you know,
And you
and
sweep them
then
away.
you sweep them away. And that's
Yeah.
like, isn't that the perfect metaphor for life and like Lebenskunst? It's like you do this intricate kind of beautiful thing,
Yeah.
and then the moment it's complete, you sweep
Yeah.
it away,
Yeah. And what is
lost to
the
the wind.
mandala? What is the mandala that you're creating? What is the environment that you're creating? Because there's the creative part of making the mandala, and then there's the part of sweeping it away, and they're both kind of. It's almost could be a metaphor for like your early life and your later life. In your early life, you're constructing all the aspects of your existence.
Yeah,
You're bringing them into your environment, and then they start to kind of dissolve over time, and you
yeah,
know you start to kind of vanish, you start to disappear, you start to go into the void,
yeah.
which it doesn't it's not, I'm 52, and so I'm not old yet, but I can feel that, and I think it's a nice feeling.
What is a nice feeling?
It's a
Death,
nice feeling to
approaching death.
dissolve, to start to dissolve your life, kind of like for the body kind of falls apart. We dread that, we fear it, we we avoid it. We try to beautify ourselves and strengthen ourselves, and and try to live forever. But if you allow that kind of disillusion, it's kind of it's a nice feeling.
Well, I'm not there yet. I'm getting still better,
You're
from
still
day
you're
to
still
day.
out chasing
I'm
young
still
ladies.
approaching the apex of my life.
Yeah. You're dreaming. Yeah, I can see those gray hairs, Tom. They're
No,
pretty
no, but
visible,
they're
man.
no, no. I put them
They're
there.
not
Just
what you put
I
them there,
put
right? It's a style, right?
to disguise myself. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. They're not. You're not getting any younger, man.
No, but I'm still getting better. That's the point.
Yeah, I'm getting better too. I think I think I'm getting better,
Hmm.
even as my body is getting worse. But
What's the song from the Beatles? I'm getting better all the time.
yeah,
I used to get high, and no, I don't know how that goes.
yeah, yeah, getting better all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting better. Yeah, I hate the Beatles.
That's it, folks. Thank you for listening.
I just said that to upset you. I just said that only to upset you.
That was a nice conversation
He
to
doesn't want to
the
talk to
last
me.
thing.
You're kicking me out
Yes.
of Parallax now. We
Yeah.
can't work together anymore.
Yeah. No, I
Ah,
was listening to Rick Beato the other day, because
what?
Rick Beato, he is the kind of
Mhm.
music expert on YouTube, and he talked about the musical complexity of Maybe I'm Amazed from Macca and Paul McCartney, and I mean it's an amazing song, really. It's a really good
What
song.
song is that?
Maybe I'm Amazed.
Don't know that one. Hmm.
I can't play it here, but
Yeah. No, I don't really hate the Beatles. I'm just kind of get tired of them. But they're so much better than what's happening now. It's unbelievable. Like in terms of their richness of their melodies, and yeah, it's
no.
funny. It's strange how I know there's a lot of good music out there, but it's strange how like mediocre so much of it is. How just maybe it was always that way. I don't know.
There seems to be less experimenting at the moment, that's for sure.
Well, what do you do? Like you just play around with fiddle with machines, for
Yeah.
and create new wacky sounds.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
No,
No,
maybe we're getting old. I don't know. Maybe there's an old youth culture with new stuff that we're not
yeah,
seeing.
we don't get it. We're just grumpy old men complaining about
Old
things.
men yelling at clouds, no?
Yelling exactly fighting windmills.
Mm.
Yeah, old men yelling at clouds. Yeah, I do that. I do that sometime. I go out there. I go, "Fuck you, cloud!
Yeah,
What
yeah, but I did
are you
this,
doing there? Fuck off, cloud! Go away!" Especially in France in the wintertime, it's so gray and damp and deathly here. Like in the summertime, it blossoms and it's incredible. But the winters here, I much prefer 30 degrees below zero in Canada.
Yeah.
Blue skies. Anyway,
I mean, dude,
I'm
we
rambling,
have
Tom. We've lost
we
our
have
subject.
no, but I mean, we have January now. We had yesterday 24 degrees. That's insane,
Uh,
man.
oh yeah.
It's like that's climate change, on a silver platter because normally there are some days that are 18, 19 degrees, but it's maybe one afternoon in January, right? And
Uh-huh.
so now we have now 4 days, approaching the weekend with 22, 24 degrees. That's not normal, man. And so like you can't imagine what will happen here in August, that it will be just a death camp, it's just it's not normal. It's not okay. It's not good. Really not good.
Yeah.
That's basically summer temperatures in January.
Mm-hmm.
German summer temperatures in January here.
Uh-huh.
That's
Uh-huh.
insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's going to be great around here. I can't wait till the palm trees start to grow and the fig trees and
Yeah.
I'm
The
just
fig
being
trees are
I'm
not
being the
ready yet.
devil's advocate. Um,
Yeah.
oh yeah, well sure, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've had that conversation. Everybody always says that when it's a hot day. Oh my God, global warming! It's so terrible, and I get kind of.
Yeah, but 24 degree is too much. In any case, we have no water here anymore.
Oh
Like
right.
the this,
No, I understand. It's terrible, Tom.
it rained probably the whole winter 2 times, 2 days, and that's not nearly enough to, sustain us for the summer.
Mm,
And so it's not good.
yeah.
Anywho,
Anywho,
we have to be in a co-creative relationship with all of this and make it, rain dance and everything will be great.
you didn't just say the word co-creative, did you, Tom?
So I did.
Oh fuck!
I did.
I
I
think the
did.
podcast is truly over.
Yeah, that was, we're on it's
You
all
bitched
downhill
about
from
global
here.
warming, and then you
Yeah,
said the word
yeah,
co-creative.
all
You
downhill
are a
from here,
social
man.
justice warrior, basically.
Yeah, 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 I know.
You are
I'm so sorry.
you're getting
I
woke,
destroyed
Tom,
the
and
whole thing.
you're getting woke in your old age.
Yeah.
You're
I'm so
going
sorry.
woke
I will
on
kill
me.
myself now.
Kill yourself for being woke. Yeah.
All right, Andrew. I leave you be for today.
You'll leave me be? Oh, come on. We're just getting started, man. What's this Lieber Kunst thing again? What does it mean? I forgot already.
Lebenskunst. Yes.
The art of life. Yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
the art of death too. Mm.
exactly.
It just be the art of life. It has to be the
There
art of
you go.
death as well. Mm.
There you go. That's
There you go.
part tres. No?
Part
Lebenskunst
tres,
part.
part three. Okay.
Yeah.